I've been wrenching on trucks since I was 14 years old. I've worked on everything from a '72 Ford F-100 to full military tactical vehicles out at Fort Campbell. And I'm going to tell you something flat out. The best trucks available to the American public right now are not sitting at any dealership. They're sitting in government lots, and the government is selling them for almost nothing. I'm talking about real military-grade trucks, LMTVs, Humvees, 5-ton M939s, the kind of equipment that costs the government hundreds of thousands of dollars to build and maintain. And they're letting them go through a legal auction process that almost nobody in the civilian world knows exists. Today I'm walking you through exactly how this works. The real platform, the real government agency behind it, the vehicles that actually show up, what they cost, what to look for before you bid, and how to walk away with a truck worth 10 times what you paid. This is documented government process, not a rumor, not a loophole in the shady sense. It's just information that most people have never bothered to look up. If you find this useful, hit subscribe right now. I put out content like this every single week. No fluff, no filler, just real information about real trucks. Now let's get into it. The platform is called GovPlanet. That's the name. Go look it up right now if you want. GovPlanet is a subsidiary of IronPlanet, which is one of the largest online heavy equipment auction platforms in the world. The U.S. government uses it as one of its primary channels for selling off surplus military equipment. This is not a gray market. This is not some back alley deal. This is the official mechanism for getting decommissioned government assets into civilian hands. Behind GovPlanet, on the government side, you've got the DRMO. That stands for Defense Reutilization and Marketing Office. That's the actual federal agency responsible for managing and disposing of surplus military property. When the military decides a vehicle has served its purpose, DRMO takes possession. They process it, document it, and push it out through channels like GovPlanet for public sale. That's the pipeline. DRMO to GovPlanet to you. Now here's the thing people get wrong. They hear surplus military equipment and they think it's junk. They think these trucks are worn out, broken down, patched together with baling wire. That is flat wrong in most cases. Military vehicles are not maintained the way your neighbor maintains his pickup. They are maintained to a standard. The Army has scheduled maintenance intervals that are documented, logged, and enforced. When a truck comes out of that system, it's often in better mechanical shape than a comparable civilian truck with the same mileage. The reason the government sells these things cheap is not because they're garbage. It's because of how the government does its accounting. The depreciation schedules they use don't reflect actual remaining useful life. A truck that's been depreciated to near zero on a government ledger can still have hundreds of thousands of miles of useful life left in it. That's the gap. That's where your opportunity is. Let me tell you what actually shows up on GovPlanet. I'm not guessing here. I've watched this platform for years, and there are specific vehicles that cycle through regularly. First is the LMTV. That stands for Light Medium Tactical Vehicle. The two main variants are the M1078 and the M1079. The M1078 is a cargo truck. The M1079 is a van body version. These are 2.5-ton payload capacity trucks, four-wheel drive, central tire inflation system. They can self-adjust tire pressure on the fly, from inside the cab, while you're moving. That's a feature most civilian trucks still don't have. The LMTV runs on a Caterpillar 3116 turbo diesel engine. 6 cylinders, direct injection, mechanical fuel system. That's important. I'll come back to that engine in a minute. Second vehicle you'll see regularly is the HMMWV, High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle. Most civilians call it the Humvee. These come in about a dozen variants, but the ones that show up most on GovPlanet are cargo carriers and troop carriers, not the armored versions. Those go through a different process. The standard HMMWV runs a 6.5-liter Detroit diesel V8. I'll tell you right now, that engine has a documented history of issues. Fuel system problems, cracking heads under hard use. If you're buying a surplus HMMWV, the engine is your first inspection priority. Third is the M35 series. People who know trucks know these as the deuce and a half, 2.5-ton cargo truck. This is Cold War era equipment in many cases, but these trucks are so overbuilt they're still running. The M35A2 runs a Continental LDS 465 multi-fuel engine. That engine will run on diesel, jet fuel, heating oil, or a mix. They designed it that way on purpose because in combat you take fuel from wherever you can get it. In civilian use, that means you're never stuck at a pump. Fourth is the M939, 5-ton truck series. These are bigger. M923, M925, the variants go on. 5-ton payload capacity. Again, overbuilt to a military standard. These things haul serious weight, and they were designed to do it under combat conditions. In civilian life, a 5-ton military truck is essentially indestructible for normal use. Now let me talk about the condition codes because this is where people make expensive mistakes. DRMO uses a letter grading system. Code A means serviceable and ready for issue. Code B means needs minor repair. Code C means needs major repair. Code D means salvage. Code F means demilitarized. You want to understand the difference between these before you place a single bid. Code A and B vehicles are your targets. Code C can be a deal if you know what you're getting into and you have the mechanical ability to fix it. Code D and F vehicles are parts trucks at best. Demilitarized specifically means the vehicle has been modified to prevent military use. Sometimes that's minor. Sometimes they've cut holes in the frame or pulled the engine. Read the condition code before you get excited about a low price. Speaking of demilitarization, that word scares people, and it shouldn't. Not every vehicle on GovPlanet is demilitarized. Plenty of them are sold as fully functional surplus with nothing cut, nothing pulled, nothing disabled. The demilitarized listing just means DRMO decided that specific vehicle needed modification before civilian release. It's not a universal condition. Read each individual listing. Now here's a practical consideration that trips up a lot of first-time buyers. Title and registration for military vehicles varies dramatically by state. In Tennessee, where I am, the process is straightforward. You take your bill of sale from GovPlanet, you go to your county clerk's office, you pay your fees, and you get a title issued under the state's assigned title program for vehicles with no previous civilian title. Done. You can drive it on the road. In California, it's a different story. California has specific equipment requirements that military vehicles often don't meet stock. Emissions is the big one. Older military vehicles with mechanical diesel engines are often exempt from emissions testing depending on their weight classification and the county you're in. But the rules are specific and they change. If you're in California, do your research before you bid. Don't find out after you've already won the auction and transported the truck that you can't legally register it in your state. Texas is generally friendly. Florida is generally friendly. The Northeast is hit or miss. Know your state before you bid. This is not complicated research. Your state DMV website has the answer, or you can call them directly and ask about titling a vehicle purchased through a federal surplus auction. Let me get into the mechanical reality because this is where I spend most of my time thinking. The Caterpillar 3116 in the LMTV is one of the best decisions the military ever made in terms of powertrain selection. That engine is a mechanical diesel. No electronics managing the fuel system. No computer module to fail. You can diagnose problems with basic tools and basic knowledge. Parts are available because the 3116 was used in a massive range of applications beyond military vehicles. Marine, agriculture, construction equipment. The supply chain for that engine is healthy. Common issues on the 3116 in surplus LMTVs. Check the injection pump for wear. Check the injector return lines. They're rubber and they get brittle with age. Check the intercooler hoses. Military vehicles sat in motor pools between uses and rubber degrades sitting still just as much as it does under load. Pull the valve cover and look at the rockers. A well-maintained 3116 will have clean oil passages and rockers that show no scoring. A neglected one will tell you immediately. The HMMWV 6.5-liter diesel is more complicated. That engine was designed for civilian trucks first and adapted to military use. The injection pump is a known weak point. The head gaskets on the 6.5 have a documented history of failure under sustained high RPM operation. Check for white smoke at startup. Check coolant for hydrocarbon contamination. Pull the oil cap and look for white milky residue. Any of those signs means head gasket issues and you're looking at a significant repair before that truck is reliable. The M35 deuce and a half with the LDS 465 is basically bulletproof mechanically. The multi-fuel engine is simple, robust, and the parts are still made. The main thing to watch on an older M35 is the air system. The brakes are air operated. Check the air compressor. Check the lines for cracking. Check the slack adjusters on the brakes. Air brake maintenance is different from hydraulic brake maintenance, and if you've never worked on air brakes before, have someone who has walk you through it before you put that truck on a public road. Now let me walk you through how you actually use GovPlanet to buy one of these trucks without overpaying and without getting burned. First step, create a free account on govplanet.com. No cost, no obligation. You can browse every active listing without giving them $1. Search by equipment type. There's a category for trucks, and that category breaks down further. You can filter by location, by condition code, by make and model. Spend time here before you ever think about bidding. Learn what prices look like. Watch auctions end without bidding. See what the market actually clears at. Second step, understand that GovPlanet has both live auctions and buy it now listings. The auctions are where the best deals are because most civilian buyers don't know how to work an auction. They either bid too early, which drives up the price, or they panic bid at the end. Neither strategy works. If you're going to bid in a live auction, set your maximum before the auction opens, not when you're watching it in real time. Emotions make you stupid in real time. Decide your ceiling when you're calm and don't go over it. Third step, factor in transportation. Most of these trucks are at military bases or government facilities across the country. You're not always going to find one next door. You need to know before you bid what it costs to transport that truck to your location. Get a freight quote. Add that to your maximum bid. If the truck is drivable and not too far, you may be able to drive it home. The LMTV, the M939, the M35, all of these have standard license plate receiver capability and can be driven on public roads in most states once properly titled. Fourth step, if at all possible, do an in-person inspection before you bid on anything above Code B condition. GovPlanet listings include a location. Call the facility. Ask if you can come inspect before the auction closes. Some locations allow it, some don't, but it's always worth asking. An hour of inspection before you bid can save you thousands of dollars after you win. Fifth step, read the full listing. Every detail in a GovPlanet listing is documented government information. The mileage, the hours on the engine if it's tracked, the condition code, what's included, what's been removed. Read every word. If the listing says sold as is with no warranty, that is standard government auction language. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with the truck. It means the government isn't going to send someone to fix it if you discover a problem after purchase. That's different from the vehicle having a problem. Let me give you a realistic price picture right now. I'm talking about what these vehicles have actually sold for on GovPlanet, not what someone told you at a gun show. LMTVs, M1078 and M1079 variants, in condition A or B have sold in the range of $8,000 to $25,000, depending on variant, mileage, and what's attached to them. Bare cargo bed versions at the lower end. Variants with shelter systems, winches, or specialty configurations at the higher end. Some auctions have cleared lower than $8,000 for high-mileage Code C trucks. Some have gone higher for low-mileage late-model examples. HMMWVs are all over the map. Basic cargo variants in functional condition have cleared as low as $3,000 to $5,000. Specialty variants with communication equipment or other installs can go much higher. The $3,000 Humvee exists. I've seen it happen. Those auctions are usually for vehicles in rougher condition or located in inconvenient spots that drive civilian buyer interest down. That's actually your opportunity. Inconvenient location plus rough condition code plus willingness to do mechanical work equals a serious deal. M35 deuce and a half trucks, older vintage, Cold War era in many cases, have sold for under $5,000 regularly. These trucks are not glamorous. They're old. They're loud. They don't have any comfort features. What they have is mechanical simplicity and nearly unlimited payload capacity for civilian use. People buy them for farm use, off-grid property access, hunting property work. For those applications, a $4,000 deuce and a half is one of the best purchases you can make. M939 5-ton trucks are bigger and more expensive to operate, but they are serious capability. These have sold in the $5,000 to $15,000 range. For the capacity you're getting, that is a fraction of what a comparable commercial truck costs. One more thing I want to address directly because I get this question constantly. People ask me if buying a military truck is legal for a civilian. Yes, it is. Completely legal. The government sells these trucks specifically for civilian use. That's the whole point of the DRMO process. The federal government does not sell anything it considers a threat through a public auction platform. The trucks that come through GovPlanet are transportation assets. They haul cargo, they carry people. They are not weapon systems, and they are not sold with anything that would make them weapon systems. You're buying a truck, a very capable, very overbuilt, very affordable truck, but just a truck. The stigma around military surplus is entirely manufactured. It comes from people who've never looked into the process. It comes from movies and TV shows where surplus military equipment is associated with some kind of illegal underground market. The reality is a government website, an auction page, a bill of sale, and a trip to your county clerk's office. Nothing exciting, just a process. What is exciting is what you get on the other side of that process. An LMTV that can ford 2.5 feet of water. Central tire inflation so you can air down on the trail and air back up on the highway without stopping. A Caterpillar diesel engine that will outlast any production truck on the market today. All-wheel drive that was engineered to work in combat conditions, not marketing conditions. These trucks don't get stuck. I've worked on them. I know what they're built to do. If you've got a farm, a hunting property, a construction operation, or you just need a truck that can handle anything you throw at it without falling apart, a military surplus truck from GovPlanet deserves serious consideration. The government did you a favor by selling these things. Most people just don't know the favor is available. I want you to walk away from this video with 3 things. First, GovPlanet is the platform, DRMO is the government agency, and the process is completely legal and documented. Second, the vehicles that appear most often are the LMTV, the HMMWV, the M35, and the M939. All real trucks with known mechanical profiles and available parts. Third, condition codes matter more than price. Transportation costs are part of your real purchase price, and state registration varies, so do your homework before you bid. That's the whole picture. No mystery, no trick. Just information that the government made publicly available and that most civilians never bother to look for. Let me add one more layer that I think is genuinely useful. Once you've won an auction on GovPlanet and paid for your vehicle, you're going to get a government bill of sale document. That document is your proof of purchase. Treat it like gold. Make copies. Keep the original somewhere safe. That piece of paper is what allows you to title the vehicle in your home state. Without it, you've got nothing. Some states also want to see the government auction listing printout alongside the bill of sale. Call your DMV before you go, find out exactly what they need, and bring everything they ask for the first time. Don't make 2 trips. Something else worth knowing. Military vehicles often come with a data plate inside the cab or on the firewall. That data plate lists the vehicle's NATO stock number, the date of manufacture, the contract number, and other identifying information. That data plate is valuable. When you're ordering parts, that information helps you confirm you're getting the right component for your specific build variant. Military vehicles of the same model name can have significant differences depending on when they were manufactured and what contract they were built under. The data plate tells you exactly what you have. The air cleaner system on military trucks is also worth understanding early. Most of these vehicles run a cyclonic pre-cleaner before the primary air filter. That system is designed to remove large particulate before it even reaches the filter element. In dusty environments, that system is the difference between an engine that lasts and an engine that doesn't. When you buy a surplus military truck, service the air system first. Replace the primary filter. Check the pre-cleaner bowl and clean it out. It's a simple job and it tells you a lot about how well the previous operators maintained the vehicle. One more thing on the LMTV specifically. The central tire inflation system, CTIS, is one of the best features on that truck and also one of the first things to develop issues in a surplus vehicle. The system runs through rotary unions at each wheel hub. Those unions can develop leaks over time, especially if the truck sat for extended periods without the CTIS being exercised. When you inspect an LMTV, inflate the tires to road pressure, then watch the system over 30 minutes. Any significant pressure loss points to a leaking rotary union. Replacement unions are available. The job is manageable for a competent mechanic, but it's something to factor into your purchase price if the system isn't holding pressure. If this video helped you out, I want you to subscribe right now. I cover this kind of content every single week. Real truck information, real mechanical knowledge, real purchasing decisions. I don't make anything up and I don't pad it with filler. Just what you need to know. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.